This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Do you think Slash is a top 5 guitarist of all time? Saw his jam with B.B. King on YouTube. He was awesome. Richard, let me tell you something. Slash is one of the great guitarists of all time. I don't put him in my top 5, but here's where it becomes subjective, my man. If somebody wants to put him in his top 5 or her top 5, I got no problem with that. It may not be my top 5, but the guy is, look, man, when we're talking about the 20 greatest guitarists of all time, let's say, and if you want to put Slash in there, we're splitting hairs. The guy that wants to put Albert King in the top 5, or he wants to put him in the top 15, we can argue all day about it, whether he belongs there or he doesn't. But he's one of the greatest. And whether it's Slow Hand or Jimi Hendrix or whoever, or Eddie Van Halen, you name it. Or Joe Satriani, bro. You know what I mean? If somebody, what's it called? I'm brain farting and I'm seeing his face in front of me. The blues guitarist, rock guitarist,
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie Ray Vaughan may not be in a lot of people's top 5s. He might be a top 10. But it's one of those arguments that we're killing ourselves over it.
Nobody can make that guitar be like a vocal, man.
Yeah, but it
makes it sing.
Yeah, and so does Stevie Vai. I mean, it's just we're kind of, it's one of those arguments that will never end. You know what I'm saying? So Slash has done enough that he easily could be a top 5, top 10, top 25 guitarist of all time. But it's a discussion that we're going to go back and forth forever on. And no one's really going to win because you're going to make all kinds of great arguments for all kinds of great guitarists. And Slash is one of them. So that's where I would tell you it's not for me to fence straddle. Would he be my top 5? Probably not. He'd probably be outside of my top 5. But I'm not going to say to somebody, well, Slash is one of the 5 greatest. All right, good. All right, dude. I got no problem with that. As long as you're not telling me Tiny Tim is one of the greatest of all time, then we're good. That's all. You know? No problem. I like, what's it called? I like, you know what? I like Johnny Marr. I think he's a phenomenal guitarist that a lot of people won't give him credit. You know what I mean? Edge is a guy that nobody ever puts in the top. But to me, the sounds that Edge gets from his guitar over the years from the different U2 albums, I think he's a genius. I really do. Now, he'll never be in anybody's top 20. Ever. Nobody, pretty much. When you mention top 20 guitarists, they're not going to put the Edge in there. And yet, I think he's one of the greatest guitarists of all time. Not 5, not top 5, not top 10 or whatever, but if we start talking about 50 greatest guitarists of all time in music, I would put the Edge there. Because it's not so much that he is Yngwie Malmsteen. Okay? All right? I know he's not Yngwie Malmsteen. I get it. All right? No problem with that. Michael Schenker. I get he's not Michael Schenker. He's a different kind of guitarist. But his creativeness is his greatness. Okay? And how he makes that guitar sound.
Super diverse, man.
Yeah, man.
Lots of different songs.
Yeah.
It's just
the
realm. Yeah.
It's a very subjective conversation, in other words. Okay? That's what I would tell you about, you know, Slash or a lot of great guitarists.
A lot of that is personal opinion.
Yeah.
You know, and personal likes.
Yeah. Yeah. Police picnic concerts all over North America in 82 with Flock of Seagulls warm up. Saw them at Old Jarrett Park, Expo's first stadium in Montreal. I got to tell you, David, I saw that one of those concerts in 82 yesterday, and it was magical, bro. It was a magical concert. Big O, who's your favorite vocalist? Mine is Chris Cornell. Wow, that's so difficult to nail down because I think it's, Bono's one of my favorite vocalists of all, maybe my favorite vocalist of all time. But I love Rob Halford and Bruce Dickinson. It's just it's really hard to just nail down one voice, man. Big O, you're exactly correct. Never play a shortened season and compare stats. Those go for a career, maybe, but a single season is disrespectful for those that played full seasons. Yeah, baseball needs that asterisk there. Let's see what else. Richard says, did the scab games count in 82 NFL season? Yes, they did count. Yeah, they did count. And again, I don't hold it against Washington for winning it. And if our Dolphins would have won it, I wouldn't have held it against the Dolphins. So to me, everybody played the same season. They all had scabs. They all had to go through it. And the team that handled your season and your scabs better, you won. And Washington and Miami handled their scabs and their regular season better than everybody else. Super Boom Shack says Izzy Stradlin is as good as Slash. There you go. You see? Could be subjective like that. All right. Big O, do you see Malcolm Perry as Coach Flores' Jim Jensen? I don't know, my man. That's a great question. Although I think Malcolm Perry will be more diverse than Jim Jensen was, is what I think. But I don't even know if he can play at this level. Let's find out first. Leon Fresco says Gary Clark Jr. is working his way up the list. Yes, he is. He's working against the counter current that this is the type of music that is not popular now. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Those of us that know music and know artists, we know Gary Clark. Okay? Those of us that know, put it this way. Let me put it the right way. Those of us that know real music, we know Gary Clark. Okay? These freaking Generation Zs and millennials that are just listening to Y100 and, and all that little pop crap that they got going on, they wouldn't know Gary Clark Jr., from a Clark bar. You know what I'm saying? So that don't worry about it. Those of us that really know music, we know what Gary Clark is. We know the kind of bad freaking ass that Gary Clark is. Okay? My husband agrees about Johnny Marr being a great guitarist, as I do. That's what Diane Mayer says. Johnny Marr is amazing. Awesome. And yet, if you have those kind of conversations, Johnny Marr will never come up. Never. Just like the Edge. They never come up. They don't, because it's almost like you have to have, the fingers flying through the frets every single time to be considered a great guitarist. And that's just ridiculous. Because if you listen to George Benson, if you don't know guitarists, most people, you tell them, hey, give me your top 20, and they'll never mention George Benson. And George Benson is a beast and a half of a guitarist. Not a beast. He's a beast and a half of a guitarist. And nobody will mention George Benson. Different kind of music. George Benson. Huh? You'll throw people off completely. Those that know music and follow musicians, not just, I'm Broadway. Oh, yeah, that's all I know. If you follow music, then you'll know George Benson is a bad man in every way, shape, and form. You know what I'm saying? But that, again, has to be music. And you got to know music to know that Johnny Marr is a badass. Forget not understanding football. Don't understand negotiations and leverage. Yeah, that too. Very good point, Adrian. Big O, I know you've been to a lot of concerts, but is there one band that you never got to see live? Who would it be? Oh, Led Zeppelin, bro. Led Zeppelin. Yeah, I mean, I saw Planet Page together. but I've never seen Led Zeppelin. I would love that. I mean, there's several. The Beatles, obviously, with John Lennon dying, getting killed, that ruined it. The Cars, never saw the Cars. Never saw In Excess. So pissed. I know he's also super pissed about that, right? You're pissed you never saw In Excess either, right? Like me,
Oh man.
right? He's just he might be a bigger In Excess fan than I am. Might be. But
that
it's
morning,
like, I know he and I are monster In Excess fans. So yeah, there's a few of them.
that morning, man, when they announced his death,
Ah,
I'm leaving. That's when I was living on the beach. I'm driving across the bridge to go down to Biscayne Boulevard.
Sure.
I'm working the Norway, Port of Miami.
sure.
Literally had to pull off the side of the road because I was so mad because knowing I will never see this
Yep.
guy in concert.
Yep.
How does this happen to me?
And by the way, I've seen like 3 In Excess concerts in the last month.
They had the one on Fuse.
No, but
And I caught that.
YouTube's got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
You could just go to YouTube, bro, and you're in heaven.
They're awesome that way.
They're so because live, Michael Hutchins is like the record. It's his voice is golden, bro. I mean, Bono's voice is gold, and Bono used to freak out on his voice because that was one of his best friends. Let's see, what else do we have here? Special Needs Guru says, Big O, Finns can trade Rosen for a first rounder. And what do you think of rocker Carlos Santana, by the way? Your producer should have worked with you as your sidekick back in the days as producer. Yes, and we would have gotten him a season by then at this point. It would be nice. Yes, I'm a Santana fan, bro. Santana, again, talk about one of the greatest guitarists of all time. Santana's one of the greatest guitarists of all time. Okay? And part of being a great guitarist, in my eyes, too, is also having something that sets you apart from everybody else. A distinctive style, sound, or something that you establish. And Santana's one of those guys that his sound, his guitar, you know it right away.
Oh, as soon as you hear it, right out the block,
You know
like
it's him. Signature.
You know what?
Boom.
Eddie.
Same thing.
Eddie has a distinct, and you know that's Eddie, man.
Right away. You know it's Eddie Van Halen. It's a sound, and I think that's also part of greatness. The Edge, also, you know the Edge's guitar, because no one sounds like the Edge. No one. Diane Mayer says, we agree the 80s is the best decade for music, and 1985 is the best. I guess she was talking with somebody else there. Bill Duffy from the Cult is never mentioned. Bill Duffy is amazing. I wouldn't argue with that. Bill Duffy's fantastic. Glenn Campbell was one of the Wrecking Crew, greatest assembly of studio musicians back in the 60s. Yeah, man. There's a lot of great ones, man. There's a lot of great ones, you know? John Mayall is a guy that is a godfather to so many. So, yeah, there's when it comes to music, we could just go on and on and on and on and talk about so many different artists. It's not even funny. Oh, I agree with you on the O-line and the Tua point. What can you tell about the O-line coach in charge of teaching the new muscle on the O-line? My man, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. That's all. And we just got to see what they can do. I never saw GNR. F you, Axel. Well, NorCal, you should go see GNR, even though you hate him. Michael Hutchins should have had a wingman, bro. Yeah, Michael Hutchins was a guy that suffered a lot, my man.
You know what?
That's the sad part.
In relation to NorCal, last night watching a little bit of the breakup of the band on Reels, and GNR is one of the ones on it.
Oh yeah.
And all the times that Axel didn't give a crap, I can kind of understand where NorCal's coming from.
I get that.
He
is a jerk. Yeah.
He didn't give a crap about anybody but himself.
Yeah, but that happens.
Not the band, not the fans, not nobody. Me.
And he's not the first to make that mistake and take things for granted. And we all do it in life.
Yeah, but when you're opening up for the Stones at L.A. Coliseum and they got to get the police handcuff you to bring you to the stage.
Dude, Oasis used to say they're better than the Beatles, bro.
Well, yes, they did.
And talk about two guys that didn't care. And now we had the Black Crowes. and then those guys too. Bro, this is endless in music. Guys that acted like asses and didn't appreciate anything that they had, and then they ruin it all and all that stuff.
Kevin DeBro, Quiet Riot.
Yeah,
Some of the
that
statements
guy,
that came out of his mouth.
That guy was a complete ass, and he burned himself, and then he hated it, and he paid the price. NorCal says the Cult is still playing live. Well, not these days, but great band. Yeah, they are. Well, not these days. Oh, I see what you're saying. The pandemic, yes. Yeah, and they still sound great. I saw the Cult open up for GNR in Orlando, and they were fantastic. I saw the Cult a couple years back. It was really cool at Revolution Live here in Fort Lauderdale, which is a tiny place. It was like maybe, I don't know, about 6-7 years ago, I think by now, because time flies always. I always think it's always a couple of years ago, and it was probably like 6 or 7 years ago now. And I saw him there, man, and it's so cool to see him with 250 people packed in. That was pretty awesome. I love the Cult.
Very diverse night that night.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we saw
Atlanta
Rhythm Section.
Atlanta Rhythm Section.
Yeah, well, what's
Gulf
left
Street.
of them? What's left of them? But yeah, what's left of Atlanta Rhythm Section? We saw that night, and then we went over and saw the Cult over at Revolution Live. Two concerts in two different venues in one night, which is always a beautiful thing.